I'd like to call the July 18th, 2023 meeting of the Buncombe County Commission to order. Thank you all for being with us for our meeting this evening. Let's begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'd like to read the ethics reminder to the board. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the board, all county commissioners have a duty to obey all applicable laws regarding official actions, to uphold the integrity and independence of the office, to avoid impropriety in the exercise of official duties, to faithfully perform the duties of the office, and to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which will have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact for any board member? Does any board member have a financial interest in any public contract coming before the board today? There being none, all board members have a duty and obligation to vote on any matters voted on by the board at our meeting this evening. All right, we come to the consent agenda. Commissioners, are there any questions about any items on the consent agenda? Does any member of the public have any questions about any items on the consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda and to follow the remainder of the agenda as published?
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we now come to public comment. The time limit for individual comment to the board is 3 minutes. We ask that you, people who want to speak to the board, come up to the podium. You'll get an orange light when there's about 30 seconds left and a red light when 3 minutes is up. And we do ask that folks discontinue their comments after 3 minutes because we want to give everyone the same amount of time. There's a sign-up sheet, so I'm going to go through the list of folks that have signed up, but if anybody else wants to address the board during public comment, there'll be an opportunity to do that too. I'll go through the list first. Stephanie Phillips.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your service. Item number 1, I dropped off some documentation for you supporting my recent comment, a copy of my grandmother's will with a Buncombe County date stamp after her death filed here. No one can find it. Item 2, a copy of the document my father was forced to sign by the end of a 1-hour meeting by a man claiming to be from the United States Justice Department on September 12, 2001. I did ask him, don't you have something more important to do? He offered no idea. I don't remember his name. And the legally binding document that he had prepared, he changed a $50,000 easement agreement into a $20,000 immediate for sale. His name doesn't appear on the document. That legally would bind my father, but not the government. Seems a little unreasonable. We could talk more about that, but he stepped in and replaced a verbal agreement from the Forestry Service at the office there at the Agriculture and Forestry Department. Item 3, I hope you all are planning for the International World Peace festivities. My job as it pertains to this is to advocate for neighborhood watches in cooperation with law enforcement countrywide, resulting in the mutual security of all and creating a long-lasting community spirit and national patriotism. Implement the Citizens Emergency Preparedness Day. The model is Hagerstown, Maryland. Could speak to Lowe's and their administration, and their commissioners could give you more information. And 3, schedule activities for party and activities between September 15th and 25th. I envision a lot of recreational opportunities for our youth and good music and good victuals. call a worldwide moratorium on war for 10 years so we can rebuild our infrastructures worldwide. And 3, we are perfectly positioned with universal preschool and the baby boomers now aging into retirement, many of which would like to support the people that are now actively working in their positions to finally start righting the systemic problems that have plagued us, which probably started at the end of the monarchy and the beginning of democracy and capitalism. And you know, it was a foregone conclusion we'd end up at this existence just based on human nature, no matter who was involved. But now it has become a systemic, real challenge to alleviate. So I hope you will consider putting that on your activity calendar.
All right, thank you so much. Next is Andrew Clark.
Part 1. Hello, I'm Andrew Clark, Buncombe County resident. I'd like to start off with a quote for American businessman and rapper 50 Cent. I'm a track star running through life chasing my dream. Having the honor to be the voice for veterans' independence, I'm speaking here today as Legislative Director for Bedingfield Shiloh, Chapter 14, Disabled American Veterans, chasing my own dream. Living by the DAV mission, empowering veterans to lead high-quality lives with respect and dignity, accomplishing this mission by helping veterans in need and recognizing the outstanding efforts and achievements by veterans. Those achievements by veterans that answered the nation's call by volunteering or being drafted. A U.S. Army veteran drafted during a Vietnam conflict, serving 2 years. American fashion designer and multi-billion-dollar businessman Ralph Lauren. American actor, producer, U.S. Air Force veteran, and mega millionaire Morgan Freeman. American inventor and engineer, U.S. Air Force veteran with over 100 patents to his name, Lonnie Johnson. And recognizing those departed from this earth, talented TV artist serving 20 years in the United States Air Force, retired Air Force Master Sergeant Bob Ross, 35th President of the United States, World War II veteran, and VFW member John F. Kennedy. Once a Marine, always a Marine, American actor and U.S. Marine veteran, B. Author. Females have answered the nation's call for hundreds of years. Harriet Tubman served by providing nurses and assistants, scouting, and intel for the Union Army. Thanks to the many heroic efforts of the brave women, veterans of the past, women today serve in all military occupations. Governor Cooper followed through recently with a proclamation that 12 June 2023, Women's Veterans Day. We still encourage Raleigh to enact House Bill 427, Honor Women Veterans Plaque. DAV 14 continues in celebrating our own achievements of more than 50 years as a chartered veteran service organization, headquartered out of Hendersonville and advocating for veterans in Buncombe County for over 97 years. What an honor it is to hold this sacred duty as DAV Legislative Director for another year. With opportunities traveling this great nation, fighting for the interests of veterans and their families, traveling last year from coast to coast, and most recently traveling to Raleigh on May 3rd for firefighters on Capitol Hill and June 8th, speaking with elected state officials about the importance of investing in veterans, military, emergency services, education, and essential workers that make, defend, and protect the American economy. I yield back.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, the last person that signed up is Robert Stevenson.
Hello, I've never done this before. I'm going to be working off notes. I'm a resident of Leicester, North Carolina. I work here in town, live at 1090 Newfound Road. And my wife and I have had an ongoing issue with what we believe is violations of county noise ordinance across the street at the Newfound Community Center at 3 Morgan Branch Road. We've just recently, I don't know normally how to address this, but we reached out to Commissioner Sloan this morning, and then also just wanted to come for the public comment. So since sometime in 2022, when my wife was pregnant, we've just been having an ongoing experience with the community center across the street, which is rented out to various different folks in the community, having parties, loud music, and especially actually bass that you can feel in the house across the street. And that's exceeding, regularly exceeding 11 o'clock in the evening, sometimes as late as midnight. We've contacted the person that we've been told is the sort of facilitator of scheduling there, Mr. Anthony Cole, who himself says that the quiet time is 10 p.m. And that everyone should be gone by 11. That's just regularly not happening. And then, of course, the county ordinances, at least as far as I have read them, seem to suggest that, especially between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., that noise enhanced by amplifiers is not allowed. So anyways, I'm just coming here. This has been going on pretty much every weekend. And I've got sort of records of our attempts to contact Mr. Cole. He's variously said that he would address this issue, and nothing's changed. And he's also kind of stopped responding to us. We've called Buncombe County sheriffs a couple times who have come out, but after they visit, the music has continued. That's 3 separate occasions. So just sort of letting y'all know this and wondering what my next step should be. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks, Robert. Thanks for your comments. That's everyone that signed up. If there's anybody, is there anybody else who'd like to address the board during the public comment period? All right. Appreciate everyone who took time to come out to address the board this evening and share your comments. All right, the next item under presentations, we have a proclamation recognizing Parks and Recreation Month. And Commissioner Parker Sloan will read the proclamation, and Allison Daines and others from Parks and Rec will receive it. And thanks everyone for being here for this.
Okay, good evening. Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Buncombe County, and whereas Parks and Recreation promote health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who utilize parks, and whereas through events like the Lake Julian Park Campout and kids fishing events, Parks and Recreation promote the time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health and well-being. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourage physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, greenways, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation programs and events are critical to social interaction and enhanced self-esteem. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the United States House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas Buncombe County offers river parks, sports complexes, natural areas for families and neighbors to gather, celebrate, and recreate. And whereas residents and visitors celebrate with Buncombe County Parks and Recreation Services each July and December with fireworks and Festival of Lights. And whereas Buncombe County proudly partners with Special Olympics and celebrates our award-winning teams that competed recently at the state level. And whereas Buncombe County recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore be it resolved by the Buncombe County Board of Commission that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in Buncombe County. Signed, Chairman Barney Newman.
Thank you, Commissioners. As the Parks and Recreation Director for Buncombe County, I'm extremely honored and humbled to work in a community where Parks and Recreation is valued and supported. This July, in recognition of Parks and Recreation Month theme, Where Community Grows, we celebrate and uplift all the ways Parks and Recreation build strong, vibrant, and resilient communities in which no one is excluded and where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Communities in which participation is not dependent on someone's real or perceived limitations. Communities that build joy, resiliency, compassion, and empathy. Communities like Buncombe County. Our Parks and Recreation Department provides spaces, programs, and services that are crucial to our community's vitality. Recreational opportunities serve as key factors in advancing health equity, improving individual and community health level outcomes, and protecting the natural environment. On behalf of the Recreation team you see before you, and our Recreation Advisory Board, thank you for recognizing and supporting Parks and Recreation as an essential component to enhancing the quality of life of the residents of Buncombe County. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next we have a presentation from the Economic Development Coalition, and Clark Duncan, their executive director, is here to present this item. Clark, thanks for being with us.
Good evening, Chairman Newman, members of the commission. It's always great to be with you. As we enter our 30th year of partnership with the county, let me lead with thanks for your leadership on economic development and prioritizing growth of wages, and growth of economic opportunity, and sustainable expansion of the tax base in this place we all call home. I'm also pleased to share that our EDC did recently receive our reaccreditation from the International Economic Development Council, which makes Buncombe County one of only 70 in North America and the only in the Carolinas today to hold this distinction. That is, thank you, Madam Manager. That is a tribute, of course, to the talented and purpose-driven folks that I work with, a few of whom are with me this evening, that advance the work of economic development for the EDC board and for this commission in alignment with the strategic plans of Buncombe County. Business programming, for example, that stimulates a vibrant economy and balance with a healthy environment, growing workforce partnerships and programming that advance skills attainment and access to opportunity and upward mobility, building resilient entrepreneurs and the headquarters of tomorrow, all while leveraging the very best data and analytics to drive our strategies and responsible administration of our budget dollars. I'm going to start tonight with some headline metrics. Over the course of FY23, our team facilitated the recruitment or expansion of these three firms. The health and beauty brand Life's Abundance, currently renovating headquarter space over on McDowell Avenue, and local industry expansions like System Logistics and fan favorite Poppy Popcorn. In total, these companies are pledging to invest over $15 million in new tax base in this community that will facilitate over 150 new jobs at average wages nearing $60,000. That's about 116% of current average wage of Buncombe County residents. And since 2010, your investment in the EDC has returned over $2 billion in new tax base, which facilitated the creation of over 5,300 jobs across Buncombe County. Of course, behind good news of those headlines is a robust program of work conducted on your behalf that helps our team connect with local industry throughout the year. And I'm going to highlight just a few for you. For example, our quarterly Sustainability Council meetings that promotes best practices in hiring and training, continuous improvement, and environmental stewardship in manufacturing. In fact, employers like Thermo Fisher Scientific and Deltec Homes found supportive resources in this program to advance their zero waste landfill goals, and today provide inspiration to manufacturers across Buncombe County who are following their lead. I'm also excited to share an update on our annual celebration of National Manufacturing Day. This is an annual partnership with Buncombe County Schools and Asheville City Schools. We hosted over 300 high schoolers on campus with BorgWarner Turbo Systems this past October for career exploration that can really change the trajectory of lives for our public high school students. We applied these same disciplines and collaborative approach to building the entrepreneurial economy of the county. My appreciation to Commissioner Whitesides, who I recall joined us last year at the Venture 15 Awards at the Orange Peel, recognizing the top 15 fastest growing startups in our community as measured by compounded annual growth rates. Interestingly, the list was topped this year by The Grind and Black Wall Street. This past year, Venture Asheville served over 21 new startups. Together, they attracted some $13 million in outside equity investment, generated some $22 million in annual sales revenues, created over 64 new jobs at wages approaching $80,000 per year, or approximately 153% of county average wage. And in case you missed it, Our Venture Asheville community celebrated a major milestone this spring. Since the launch of Venture Asheville over a decade ago, the companies that incubated in the Elevate program have attracted over $50 million in outside equity investment and generated over $100 million in sales revenues, proving that startups in Buncombe County are really no longer small business. The lifeblood of economic development nationally remains workforce. And Next AVL is a talent retention strategy operated in partnerships with 6 regional colleges and universities. I'm pleased to share AB Tech is joining our consortium this fall. Our annual enrollment for this 9-month structured mentorship has nearly doubled to serve nearly 50 ambitious and diverse college students, with a focus first on keeping them here and recruiting students who are perhaps first in family to attend college and those from economically marginalized communities. The Inclusive Hiring Partnership is a resource, quite simply, to close the opportunity gap in Buncombe County, connecting residents experiencing significant barriers to employment with available jobs in equitable workplaces and in high-growth industry sectors like healthcare and manufacturing. Including some updates since this slide went to press, the program to date has reached 307 residents, placed 29, and has an additional 100 residents in the pipeline and interview process. This year, we held inclusive hiring partner events out in the community, including events at the YWCA, the Eddington Center, and the Brown Temple CME Church in Southside. With pilot funding from the Golden Leaf Foundation expiring just this July, the EDC board has recommitted itself to supporting this cornerstone program and implementing ongoing technologies and efficiencies so that we can better connect our residents to the meaningful employment opportunities being created in our region. I certainly would like to offer my thanks to the nearly 30 employers that continue to work with us as certified inclusive hiring partners, but especially I'd like to recognize the referral partners listed here, right? These are the case managers and community health workers that work day to day with job seekers in our community. Our partnership with these organizations are changing employment practices in the workplace, increasing economic participation in the community, and improving the financial outcomes for Buncombe County families. In fact, it was key partners like the YMI, the Asheville Housing Authority, Land of Sky, and Operation Gateway that came together with the EDC as the backbone organization to launch Accelerate Buncombe this year. With generous support of this county commission, the program today funds 3 community health worker positions new to the community, plus innovative educational stipends. These stipends provide necessary income continuity for more of our unemployed and underemployed to better access in-demand technical certifications, and more importantly, the high-wage employment opportunities that follow those certifications. Again, with updates received since we went to press on this deck, we've now screened 53, enrolled 27 in active studies, and have now graduated 13. That's 10 in phlebotomy and 3 certified production technicians at AB Tech. We'll be reporting additional outcomes to the county in the first quarter of '24. I'd also quickly like to recognize my colleague Heidi Reiber, who serves as our Senior Director of Research, who was just last week named to the board of the prestigious C2ER. That's the Council for Community and Economic Research. It's a national organization. I'm extremely proud of the recognition that she's received. As a community, we all look to Heidi for monthly economic indicators, for example, ad hoc reporting for this county government, as well as regional businesses across Buncombe County, and focus reports like these that help drive our strategies and resource allocation. In closing, and on behalf of the board of the EDC, I'd like to offer my gratitude for your steadfast support. Today, the Buncombe County Commission supports about 33% of our annualized operating budget, truly extending our reach and the impact of the work that we're able to do together. With partnership of the county, the city of Asheville, the Asheville Area Chamber, and over 100 investors in the AVL 5x5 strategy. Pulling in the same direction, our work recognizes the impact of every good job on the families and the neighborhoods and the economy of Buncombe County. So thank you once again for your support. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Clark. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, appreciate you. Thanks so much. All right, and next up is a presentation on the annual report from the Greater Asheville Regional Airport Authority, and the airport executive director, Lou Bleiweiss, is here to share it. Thanks for being here, Lou. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I appreciate it. My annual update to you all of what's going on at the airport based on 2022. From an air service perspective in 2022, we had 6 carriers operating at the airport: Allegiant, American, Delta, JetBlue, Sun Country, and United. We had 25 nonstop destinations out of the Asheville airport. 3 new ones that came up last year was Austin, Texas, Miami, Florida, and Destin, Florida. From a passenger perspective, we had total passengers of 1.8 million, be exact, 1,838,793, which was up 29% over the previous year. And it was up 13.5% from 2019, which was our high water mark. Seats in the market was 1.1 million seats, which is up 12%. This actually makes us the 3rd largest commercial service airport in the state of North Carolina, following Charlotte and Raleigh. So we have surpassed Greensboro in our passenger traffic. From an operation perspective, we had 26,874,000 operations, which is about approximately increase of 1% over last year. GA and military aircraft operations, we had 52,157, which is up 6.3%. From a construction standpoint, we updated South General Aviation apron at a cost of approximately $5.5 million. We also moved and finished our airfield electrical vault room, which was a precursor to our new terminal building, at a cost of $6.2 million. And we started on our central energy plant, which is roughly $80 million project for the new terminal building. $40 million is roughly for the construction of the central energy plant, and $40 million was pre-ordering long lead items like loading bridges, HVAC equipment, and baggage handling systems. And we also opened another cell phone lot at a cost of roughly $700,000. From a community standpoint, we had our runway 5K back in October. We had 1,000 runners, and we ended up raising $20,000, half of which went to AB Tech Aviation Foundation, and the other $10,000 went to WNC Pilots, the Pilot Foundation, which is promoting education of aviation within our community. We've brought back local artists and musicians in the terminal building, and we also participate in our program of AVL Gives, which is a charity program for our employees to give to our community in various ways. We raised over $7,000 for that. Pause for Passengers returned in 2022, which is our well-beloved dogs in the terminal, calming nerves of flyers that are heading out. And we also participated again in our Blue Ridge Honor Flight. From a financial standpoint, for the airport for last year, our operating revenues were $19,889,000. Operating expenses were $10.4 million, giving us a net of $9.4 million that will go to capital projects. Assets at the end of 2022 was $236,575,780, which is roughly approximately $30.6 million over our financial net over in 2021. You see on the screen the cover of our book, the annual report for last year. Mr. Joyner's got several hard copies if you want to take time to look at it. I know we forwarded it to you electronically. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Commissioners, any questions? Great report, Lou. Congratulations on all the success at the airport, and thanks for being with us to share the update.
Thank you, and cooperation from Ms. Pender for all the things that you guys work together on. Thank you.
Absolutely, right. All right. Commissioners, we do not have any public hearings this evening. County managers reports.
Thank you, Commissioners. I am pinch hitting tonight for Tim, who's on a much-needed break. So Commissioner Wells and I are going to try to see if we can make up for one Tim, right? But my PowerPoint's not up there yet. It is really to just share with you that we received notice on July 6th that there's another GRIT grant coming to Buncombe County to help us support broadband. As you know, one of our initiatives is to bring broadband throughout our community. This would be make the third funding from GRIT grant for our community. On July 6th, we heard 1.8 million going to Skyrunner, which will provide broadband in the areas of Northwest Buncombe County, North Turkey Creek, South Turkey Creek, Fairview Forest, Rems Creek, and Ox Creek. This will serve about 500 more unserved and underserved residents. So since 2020, we have received 3 GRIT grants impacting over 2,000 of our residents here in Buncombe County, of our households here in Buncombe County. And to date, we have used 500,000 in ARPA dollars to match the funding for the GRIT grant project. Still to come is CAB and other broadband projects, but right now we've had this much in the GRIT grants. And did you want to share anything, Commissioner Wells? I should say that you do serve on the statewide task force along with Tim on bringing broadband to all of North Carolina.
Thank you very much. I want to say a thank you clearly to Tim, even though he's not here, and to the great work the Broadband Working Group has been doing with him. They've really laid the groundwork to ensure that we have high-quality projects and to make sure that we're communicating with providers and with the state about the pockets that are still missing in Buncombe County. So they've done a tremendous amount of work for us. And it's continuing to connect our community with this high-speed broadband is really going to bring lasting dividends for our families and for our businesses. And it's very exciting because some of these families I know have been waiting for years to have this technology. And so it's exciting to be able to announce this for them and what that's going to mean. And so this project, this most current one, it'll take, from the time they sign the contract, they have 2 years, the provider does, Skyrunner in this case, to actually get that implemented. But from my understanding, I think they have the intent to get it done as quickly as possible. So hopefully it will not even take that amount of time. And I do also want to say we've really been leveraging a significant amount of funding, and I think that's worth noting. Over $5 million in funding we've brought in to do these projects. And because of the Commission's support of this and the ARPA funding, we're well positioned going forward too, because with the CAB process, they even require a greater match. And so we're very fortunate that our County Commission has supported this infrastructure so that we can continue to ensure that we get everyone in our community connected. And I think that was the main thing I wanted to say there. Yeah, and I do think, I'm hopeful that we may even hear about another great grant this year as well. They're looking to see if they have any funding left at the state level in that, so we may actually get one more great grant this year as well as start that CAB process. And the final thing I'll say is, with these numbers that County Manager shared, those 2,000 unserved households, it will actually even be greater than that, because the thing is, as these providers build out, obviously, if there's people in those areas that want to go ahead and sign on, they can sign on as well in addition. So that way, it's really a much larger impact than this even shows here. And that's very exciting for our community members as well. So it gives them options, which I hear from them that they're very pleased to know that they're going to have options with that. So we're excited for our community to keep doing this good work. And I thank all the commissioners for their support with this.
That's good news.
Excellent. Okay, any other updates? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, under old business, we are gonna have an update on the survey results regarding board meeting time schedule change discussions.
Angelica is going to present the results, and then you guys is open to discuss and to give us direction.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for having me. I'm Angelica Tyler with the Cape Department here in Buncombe County, and I run our sister site for public engagement where we ran this survey. So our survey about the commissioners' meeting schedule change ran for about 3 weeks. We had 101 participants, 60 comments, and 434 site views. Here's a snapshot of our participant demographics. It's important to note here that our demographics modules are optional at the end of our surveys, and about 56 people opted to take the demographics module, so this does not represent every participant. Here's a map showing the participants by zip code, and you see those numbers in each zip code region. And we took this opportunity to ask a few extending questions other than just about the meeting schedule itself, to know a little bit more about how the public is engaging in our commissioners' meetings. So this first question asked if our participants had ever attended a meeting in person. 70% responded yes. Next question, have you ever watched Buncombe County Board of Commissioners meetings online? Over 80% of our participants in this survey engaged in some way with one of our online streaming for Board of Commissioners meetings, whether that be live or watching the recording after the fact. So yeah, that's definitely giving us a greater reach. And our final question was about supporting the shift to a morning-night schedule, and 59% of participants agreed or would support the move to a morning and night schedule. We thought it was important to share the traffic streams and how we got this survey out to the public. There were multiple press releases, which resulted in a few articles in our local media. We had 5 sponsored social media posts and ran a county banner. It was also the featured survey on our public engagement site for all of those 3 weeks. Any questions?
Can I ask what the common, or I guess most common number of responses we get to county surveys are, just for comparison's sake?
So each one is very different because each county survey we put out has a different buy-in with the community. So for reference, our most recent Waste Pro survey had about 1,500 respondents. And I could list a few others if you would like them, but it really depends on the topic.
Were there any common themes to the comments?
Comments are interesting to process because the votes show 59% supporting the shift. If you're very interested in this topic, you might extend that answer with a comment. And so, yes, there were some themes to those comments, but they sort of contradicted the overall vote on that question, if that makes sense. So I think it's interesting, just like we see in social media commenting, sometimes we comment when we're passionate one way or the other, and it doesn't necessarily represent everyone's feelings about the topic.
That was the most deliberate, thought-out way I've heard someone answer a question all day.
Well, working in the Cape Department, we field a lot of comments, and it's just, you have to think through how that compares to the data itself.
Any other questions or thoughts from the board around this idea?
So I was hoping to take y'all's temperature. I think the survey was intended to be instructive of what the public was looking for or might expect from us. It sounds like we're well short of what would be a representative sample of what I was hoping for. Doesn't mean I'm opposed to it, but I don't think it gives us very much to work off of in terms of what the public would really be looking for. But that's just my 2 cents.
I agree. You know, it's not a scientific survey. Plus, when you look at what, almost 270,000 people in Buncombe County, for me to go back from 101, no. And it's not enough to change me. I was against it in the beginning, and I still am.
All right. Hey, thank you for the update. Appreciate it. Thanks for gathering this information. And it doesn't sound like nobody's making the case for doing a change right now. So I think this will be something we kind of can continue to think about, but it sounds like we're going to stick with what we got for now.
Yeah, I'd be open to tabling it as we get more community feedback.
Yeah, that's what I would, yeah, I would be.
Readdress it.
Yeah, I would be open to that, to table it. You can see more, get more information.
Sounds good. All right. Next item under new business, consideration of a resolution updating leadership in energy and environmental design standards. And Jeremiah Leroy from our sustainability office will explain this item.
Good evening, Chairman Newman, Commissioners. It's great to see everybody again tonight. I'm here really at the behest of the Environmental and Energy Stewardship Subcommittee with some recommendations on updates to our current lead resolution. And there we are. So just a quick recap. In 2020, the county adopted a resolution setting LEED Gold as our standard for new construction and major renovations. That essentially applies to new construction being 10,000 square feet or above, or major renovations when it's 50% or more of the aggregated square footage of the facility. Some other important components of that resolution are that it would be, new construction would be solar ready in its design, net zero where feasible, and that presentations to the board would be done on life cycle cost analysis. For those of you who were on the board when we initially did the design work for the new fleet facility, we got to kind of test the waters on that and show you what it would look like to do business as usual with natural gas, all electric, solar, and sort of compare all those things over the lifetime of the facility. It's a really good exercise for us as a first time doing it. And that leads us to updates to this potential resolution. So this life cycle cost analysis for design alternatives would now apply to both new construction as well as major equipment replacement to assist in that decision-making process. And what we're looking at here is essentially future electrification efforts, right? So again, adding some flexibility to be able to understand what are the long-term cost implications of making some of these decisions so that we're trying to make the best environmental decision possible, but also trying to make the most cost-effective decision possible. So some other updates would include, instead of solar-ready design, to just go ahead and include solar as a part of the design and construction process. Frankly, it's less expensive to include it up front if it's part of the initial planning as opposed to going back after the fact and doing it as sort of a retrofit. And again, if solar-ready design is nice, but if we can include it up front, it tends to be a little more cost-effective. New construction facilities would then also be designed to include all electric equipment unless that is found to not be technically feasible or if the life cycle cost analysis says it's cost prohibitive. The one caveat to that would be backup generation. At this point, if we're looking at backup generators needed for that facility, we would potentially sort of set those aside and do what's necessary, especially in the situation where it's a critical services facility, until, of course, the technology maybe catches up and we don't have to do that anymore. And again, where feasible, and where the county fleet will actually have vehicles parked on site, facilities would have electric vehicle charging infrastructure installed, again, with the construction of the facility. So those are sort of the updates to the new construction side. On the existing facilities side, it's a little more simple. It is to replace current equipment with an all-electric equivalent upon the end of its useful life, again, if it's technically feasible to do so, and if a life cycle cost analysis doesn't say that it's cost prohibitive to do so. There are situations where electrification, while ideal, may be a really, really difficult ask depending on how the facility was originally constructed. So those are, it's a pretty straightforward updates to the resolution, but we wanted to take it to you for consideration and I am very happy to answer any questions or concerns that you may have.
I think I've got two comments and one question. Maybe we'll start with a question. I don't, you mentioned or at least your slide deck mentioned the EV chargers for the fleet.
Mhm.
And I guess you're speaking to specifically new construction, including that. And I guess my question is around so we're unique in the sense that, we have the sheriff's office and other departments that travel around the county. Is there thought behind strategically placing these things, existing facilities, wherever? I'm thinking of the sheriff's deputies who might find themselves parking somewhere, and we want to help facilitate the electrification of the sheriff's fleet as well, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So the shortest answer I can give you to that question is that we are actually that process is currently underway. So when we look at the change in the resolution, it's more about, when we construct something new, we want to make sure that if there's going to be county vehicles there, we're prepared to charge those vehicles as we grow our electric fleet. But the county and the Sustainability Office and General Services are currently sort of mapping out our fleet. We're using a telematics system to understand our fleet better. Where is it parked? Where do people drive? And where do we own property? Libraries could be a good example. They're fairly spread out throughout the county where we can install EV charging that's going to make that simpler for folks that are out in the community doing their job. There's also an effort underway right now to see how we can partner with some of, WEX is our fleet fuel card, for example. So WEX is a company that is, lets us go to gas stations everywhere. Well, WEX is also starting to work with ChargePoint and EVgo and some of these other manufacturers that are installing private sector electrification, electric charging stations. And so enabling potentially our fleet to have those available too. Again, all the options on the table. So if you can't park at a county facility, you could potentially stop at a ChargePoint or somewhere like that. So we are absolutely thinking through long-term, as we continue to grow our fleet of electric vehicles, how do we enable them to have the infrastructure necessary, keep them on the road?
Great, okay.
I hope that was answered your question.
That's good answer. Yeah, I guess my only other comments would be around your second bullet around all electric equipment and generators, to speak at a high level about greenhouse gas emissions. Commercial and residential buildings is fourth source of GHGs in the United States and kind of doesn't get a lot of attention, I think because it's down the list and because it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, like the building we're standing in. HVAC system is supplied by gas. And the good news is we have technology that has been around for a while that's better that we can use to replace those types of things. So it's great to see this kind of proactive, intentional policy thing that we're doing to change that. Because it's easy to do when we're building new buildings, so that's great. And the last thought I had around emergency generators, I think there's a provision for direct pay tax rebate for counties for different types of generators. So I just wanted to, through federal legislation, so I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, absolutely. We have our eyes on every direct pay opportunity that might be coming down the pipeline.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeremiah. This is great.
Absolutely.
All right. Any other questions or motion?
Motion to approve the execution of the interlocal agreement between, wait a minute, I just scoofed up.
Do we skip ahead?
I skipped ahead. Let's see here. Motion to approve the updated lead resolution.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thanks, Jeremiah.
Thank you.
Next is consideration of a resolution authorizing the execution of an interlocal agreement for the Asheville Community Reparations Commission audit. And Dr. Armstrong is here to present this item.
Good afternoon, Chairman Newman and the Commissioners. I am Dr. Norio Armstrong, the Chief Equity and Human Rights Officer, and I'm here to request approval for an interlocal agreement with the City of Asheville. For contextual background, Through the addition, or the action, sorry, of the board in February of this year, authorization was given to the county staff to work in collaboration with the city of Asheville, as well as appointed members from the Community Reparations Commission, to develop a request for proposal to select a firm to complete a comprehensive audit of the city and county to ensure the cessation of harm on Black people in Buncombe County and the city of Asheville. Over the last few months, that work has been completed and contract negotiations are underway. Both the county and city has appropriated funds specifically to fund the recommendations that come from the County Community Reparations Commission and is approved by our governing bodies. To that end, we have agreed to cost share the cost of this audit, which is estimated to be $175,000. At this time, we are requesting an interlocal agreement with the city of Asheville to fund this work. Previously, we shared that there were 4 Community Reparations Commission members who participated fully in the selection for the panel of solicitation. The CRC has been notified that the selection recommendation has been, and that they will be provided updates as the engagement begins and is underway. We anticipate the preliminary findings to be disseminated and presented to the commission at the end of December, with the final report being completed by the end of April 2024. This aligns with the commission's terms. And so we are asking for you to approve the interlocal agreement between Buncombe County and the city of Asheville.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments, or a motion?
I'd like to ask one question. Let me make sure I'm right here. Our cost for this would be $87,000.
Correct. We're
Okay.
splitting the cost 50-50
Right.
with the city.
Okay. Around that. you know.
Around that, yes.
Okay, thanks. I'll make the motion to approve.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you so much. Commissioners, the next item is consideration of a budget amendment for the FY23 to replace the varsity gym bleachers and lighting at Asheville High. And Heather Holsey is here to present this item.
Good evening, Chair Newman, members of the board. Yes, I'm Heather Holsey, filling in tonight for Budget Director John Hudson. So this budget amendment addresses 2 previously approved projects in the Public School Capital Needs Fund, both at Asheville High School. The projects are currently under pre-construction, and minor revisions to project scope have been identified, resulting in cost savings on one project and increased costs on the other project. So this budget amendment would reallocate $410,000 from one project to the other. No new funds are required. And Ronnie Lunsford is here to give a quick presentation on the details of the 2 projects.
Hey, good evening, Commissioners. Like Heather said, we were at the early stages of both of these projects, both on the campus of Asheville High School. So back in the fall, we asked for several projects at Asheville High and Asheville City Schools from School Capital Fund Commission. The first I'd like to just give a little bit of background information on is the high school auditorium renovations. So that project was originally budgeted as full-scale renovation from just underneath the roof all the way to the floor. It included HVAC systems, acoustical ceilings, new seating, flooring, stage lighting controls, everything in that auditorium. As we moved through design and pre-construction, we determined pretty quickly that a lot of the damage to the ceiling that was caused from the HVAC system was not as a result of the HVAC system being defunct, but really condensate drains that couldn't be ran properly when it was installed due to the ceiling being in place. Since that ceiling would be coming out, we could make those changes to those condensate drains and install drain pans underneath to catch any overflows that happen due to stoppages. So we didn't really need to change that system completely. The initial budget that was requested from School Capital Fund Commission was a little over $5.3 million to renovate that space. After we paid for pre-construction services, the school system actually handled the design of that internally. So we were left with a little over $5.2 million. Our schematic design estimate that we got just after the SD package was put together was $4.6 million, creating a budget surplus of $682,000, which which again is really due to not having to replace that HVAC equipment. Inside that schematic design estimate, there's a contingency money to handle anything else that changes between now and construction on that, as we still have a little ways to go just to iron out the details for those construction documents. We are planning to begin construction in January of next year. Then another project that was asked of the School Capital Fund Commission was some varsity gym renovations. And when we, again, the school is handling the design for this project. Originally, the flooring was part of that design. It came to me just a couple of weeks before our ask of the School Capital Fund Commission back in the fall. And upon visiting the site, at first glance, the floor does not look like it needs to be replaced in that facility. So I couldn't, with good conscience for myself, go into School Capital Fund Commission and ask for $500,000 to change a floor that I wasn't sure needed to happen. As we moved through the remainder of design and pre-construction services, it became obvious when I talked to the folks who are in that facility day in and day out in the athletic department that it did need to be changed. It's hard to tell in these photos. It's really hard to capture a good picture with an iPhone of what's happening there, but all of those little black dots you see on those two photos there are nails that have been driven through the floor in the face to try to hold it down, to keep it from squeaking, moving, creating dead spots when a basketball or volleyball bounces. And folks who are there every day can point those spaces out pretty quickly. There's also a section, again, very hard to tell. You see a little bit of a darker line down the center of that. There's a section of floor that was removed so that we could tell what the system underneath that hardwood looked like and really tell any damage from past water or just improper installation to start with. And that, I call it a subfloor system, is really in need of repair to create a solid surface. So since schools had handled the design and it was in the design anyway, we bid the project with the flooring replacement so we'd have a dollar figure that was solid. And we took it to the School Capital Fund Commission on the 10th. But our initial budget for that was $549,000. We had $522,380 after design and pre-con. And then it gets tricky. We've got really small windows of time to do work in that gym, being the only varsity gym that Asheville City Schools has. So we had to make a decision to proceed with work this fall that we could get done in case the funds weren't granted from School Capital Fund Commission. And then any work that is funded through this transfer would happen in the spring of next year. So if we leave out the bleachers and do the flooring first, because I can get the flooring this fall, I'm under budget $521,000. To add the bleachers in the spring takes us to $919,000, which left us with a deficit of $397,000. Planning on construction, that says August or July, that's been moved to August, just pending these changes. So our ultimate request from the School Capital Fund Commission was $410,000, which is obviously a little bit more than that $397,000, but that $410,000 just gave us a little bit of a cushion in case any unforeseens pop up when we remove the bleachers, flooring, the whole 9 yards out of that gym. So that, again, we went to the School Capital Fund Commission on July 10th, presented this same request, and it was approved there. So, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And as he said, the School Capital Commission did discuss this and approved it. I will make a motion to approve the budget amendment and recommend executing the construction manager at-risk contract with Vinoy Construction.
Second.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thanks, Ronnie. And Heather's back for consideration of a budget amendment for state lottery projects for Buncombe County Schools, multiple school paving projects.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this budget amendment will accept state lottery funding for paving projects at multiple Buncombe County school locations. You previously approved the application to the state lottery for these projects for a total of $1,225,000.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve
Second.
budget amendment.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, boards and commissions. On the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, there are 2 appointments.
And move that we appoint Brian Griffin and Andy Bobaski.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? On the Agricultural Advisory Board for Farmland Preservation, one appointment.
Motion to approve Mark Diaz.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? On the Home and Community Care Block Grant Advisory Committee, one appointment.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And finally, on the AB Tech Board of Trustees,
I move to approve reappointing Matt Kern.
second that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. We have a couple of announcements. On August 1st at 3 p.m., the
Chairman
county
Newman.
commissioners will hold their briefing meeting at 200 College Street, room 326 in downtown Asheville. And on August 1st at 5 p.m., the county commissioners will hold their regular meeting at 200 College Street, room 326 here in downtown Asheville. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Chairman Newman, before you adjourn, can I please address the board about interviews for a few of the boards that
Sure.
are coming up? We have Early Childhood Development Fund Committee. There are 3 vacancies. We have possible three to four applications. Strategic Partnership Grants Committee, 1 vacancy, 5 applications. The Audit Committee, 1 vacancy and 2 applications. So we are looking to get some direction on when we can schedule interviews for these boards.
My recollection on early childhood, and Al, and please chime in here, is that we've had an ad hoc subcommittee of the Early Childhood Committee conduct interviews and bring forth recommendations in the past. And I think would want to stick with that process.
Okay.
We will meet next on August 1st, so can make sure to add that to the agenda.
Sure. So no need for interviews for that board. So
Thank you.
no problem. Thank you. For the other 2 boards, is there interest in any dates to do interviews?
I'm sorry, can you say, what are the 2 boards again?
The other 2 boards are the Strategic Partnership Grants Committee and the Audit Committee.
Okay. Yeah. We'll want to do interviews for those, right? So, and did you say the applications processes are still open?
They have closed.
Okay, and how is the pool of applicants?
For the Strategic Partnership, there are 5 applications for 1 vacancy. For the Audit Committee, it is 2 applications for 1 vacancy. So
Okay.
approximately about potentially 7 interviews.
Okay. So at our next meeting, we're going to need to do a closed session to do some personnel stuff. So that'll be that, sometime that afternoon, probably. We could do these before the briefing, although we have like a board, I know there's like affordable housing that day, right? So y'all probably have something too. So July 1st is pretty packed, unless we started at like 11:30 and did the interviews before we all start rolling over into other stuff. So that's one option, or we need to look at another date. Anybody got a preference? So we had 7 interviews. If we started at 11:30, it's going to take about an hour.
Correct.
To do that. So 11:30 could work. So let's do 11:30. If we could have some sandwiches or something, since I think we're going to need to like do the interviews and then get some food as people quickly go to another meeting that will start almost immediately. That would be great.
Okay.
Great.
So do we want to notice it for earlier? I know a lot of times you come and kind of get questions. That will be, just want to make sure we have enough time for you to do the interviews. And
Why don't we schedule the first one at like 11:15 or 11:20 just to make sure?
Okay.
That should be enough, I think.
All right.
All right. Anything else, Lamar?
That is all. But are there any reports on boards and commissions? That was another thing that we have listed on the agenda. Just want to make sure there are no reports from the commission.
It is on here.
It's
Thank
hard
you.
to remember. I
I'm
know that's a new
appreciative of
item.
it. Yeah, thanks. So Any updates? The Affordable Housing Committee, I don't think we've met since we were last here. And I think the Energy Environment Committee, we just voted on some of the stuff we've been talking about, so.
I have one quick update, is I've cycled from the 555 Committee on Opioid Issues into a new statewide committee that is basically supporting the implementation of settlement funds across the state. So Buncombe is represented in that, which is a good opportunity for us. We had our first meeting June 21st, which was largely kind of getting bylaws and such in place, but just wanted to kind of report that out to folks and also just flag that related to that the second wave of opioid settlement funding has been finalized. So I think more to come on that issue.
Great. Any other updates? All right, very good. Thanks for the reminder on that. All right, commissioners, that completes everything on our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're adjourned. We do not have a closed session, no.